This conference will now be
This
recorded.
is the first ever Veeam user group for Ireland, which is great to get going and get off the ground. Obviously, everything starts from humble beginnings, so thank you very much for taking the time and coming along. We have myself speaking for a moment on Veeam Accreditations and the new VMC Plus. That's due to drop this month, tomorrow, I think, for most people. Most of the changes will happen. And then we also have Andrey Stadler, a global technologist from the Veeam product management team, who's going to speak about hypervisors in the State of the Union and where we all are with that crazy fiasco. And then we also have Adrian Lowe, senior sales systems engineer from Veeam, who's going to speak about all things coming new in version 13.1 of VBR. Which is great to have those guys along. And then once we've had those two guys have a chat, we're going to be giving away a couple of prizes, kindly sponsored by Vault 365, and we'll talk to those at the end. So if you can manage to stay awake and get to the end, there's the possibility of a prize or two in it for you. So I suppose, look, the whole idea of a Veeam user group for Ireland is there are very few Veeam specific official events in Ireland, and as it's a smaller country, the community side of things we hope will work well here. We have the main community hub where you would have signed up to join this event. And that is designed to be a forum for everyone to ask questions, share their ideas, get some information, a bit of back and forth. At the minute, I'm putting some content in there once every couple of weeks, but we'd really like it to grow to be a central hub where everyone can just share what's going on in the industry, what they're struggling on. And like I know from the names on the list here, there are many people who have years, if not decades, of Veeam experience already joined the group. So there's plenty of experience to share for everyone to kind of help each other out in using Veeam on a day-to-day side of things. So this group is for anybody who uses Veeam in any capacity. Whether you're an end user at a customer where your boss has bought Veeam and you had no plan in it and you end up stuck with it, or if you're indeed a veteran in Veeam and have had it for many years and are well averse. I've learned through the years that you never know everything, and there's always something to learn. And the people we have here in this community can massively share some experiences as we go on. So I'd like implore you all to kind of get involved and make some posts, just talk about your experience, how you use Veeam, if anything interesting pops up, or indeed ask questions for other people to help you out. So with that said, I suppose, look, let's move on to the Veeam accreditations. So Veeam are sunsetting some accreditations and bringing on others, and they've also launched our Veeam University Pro subscription part, which I had the pleasure to try last year, which was great, and basically gives you a subscription that's a year long that allows you to dip in and out of the content and learn it as you go. But also as content updates, you get the new content, as opposed to the current model where you would go and pay for your seat at a 3-day or a 5-day training session, instructor led or whatever it may be. And then once you're done, you're done. With this one, it's a bit better because you get to follow up and go back and revisit. And for me, I signed up to it last year and did the version 12 content. And then when the version 13 content came out, I was able to do that as well. I didn't have to pay again because it's a 12-month subscription. So that's the Veeam University Pro that was launched, which is really worthwhile. There's also Veeam University Free for the entry tier stuff, and then Veeam University Partner for all those who are partners with Veeam. So previously you used to have the VMSP for the salespeople and the VMTSP for the technical salespeople. And then some technical specialist stuff for people who wanted to go into specifics of service provider or cloud or security, whatever it may be. So they are now sunsetting the VMTSP and rolling it all into the VSP. So we're just going to have the sales professional. And then on the other side, the technical side, where you used to have the VMCE and the VMCA for engineers and architects, and you would go and do your VBR 3-day course and sit your exam to get the VMCE, and then do the extra 2 or 3 day bolt on for the VMCA and do that exam separately to get a VMCA accreditation. That's changing now. VMCA is effectively sunset and going away in the current form. But the VMCE is staying and being rebranded into VMC Plus to expand its capabilities. So you will still have the VBR part, but then there's also another module now which specifically covers Veeam 1, and then another one that specifically covers Veeam Orchestrator, as they were gaps in the previous accreditation. And if you sit the VBR, Veeam 1 and Veeam Orchestrator modules, you then can sit the Veeam Certified Engineer Plus exam. And then if you want to follow on from that and do the Enterprise Data Security model, you can then sit the exam for Veeam Security Expert. Veeam Certified Enterprise Architect is now by invite only and is a panel review as opposed to an accreditation via an exam. So the first 3 on top for VMCE are either instructor-led or subscription. On the VBR, the Veeam 1 and the Veeam Orchestrator are subscription only at the minute, with instructor-led coming down the line. And the Cyber Secure one is a subscription only. So all of those can be done in the Veeam University Pro. So if you already have a VMCE, the way it works is if you have VMCE and you're trained and certified in version 11 or older, well, then you have to start from the start. However, if you have a current VMCE and you did the 12 or 13 modules, well, then you can just skip the VBR bit and just do Veeam 1 and Veeam Orchestrator and sit the new exam to get your Veeam Certified Engineer Plus accreditation. And then similarly move on to the Cyber Secure to get that Certified Security Expert bit. The University Pro, as I said, is a subscription model, so you can get it whether you're a customer or a partner. If you're a customer, you buy it through your standard partner, where you would buy your Veeam licenses, or any distributor you wish, and it's roughly around $1,900 a seat. You know, prices locally will vary, and whatever discounts you have with your providers may help their partners get a discount on that, or should I say an expanded offering where you will get 4 seats. So if you want your IT team to get well versed in Veeam and get their accreditations, you can get a 4-seat 12-month subscription for less than the price of 1 seat on an instructor-led course in the past. So that's really good, very worthwhile. It's quite easy to follow. It's broken down into little chunks and has little questions along the way, and then has practice exams as well. So it's very well worthwhile. And I found it much better than the previous way of doing it when I went and did my last exam. So I'll be looking forward to using that again when I need to renew in November, I think, this year for my one. So information on that, you can go to veeam.com, you can go to your Pro Partner portal, or indeed there's plenty of posted information and the VMCE Plus study hall in place at the community, as well as other resources and labs and things like that, and forums. So all of that information is on the QR codes on the screen, should you need them. But again, if you don't know where to go, the Veeam Community Hub is where you get all of this information. It will point you out to where you get everything going forward for all the different subjects you need. So really just use that as your base, and that will send you out to everything you need for the rest of the information. So I shall hand over to Andrey at the moment, who's going to do a talk on the hypervisors and what the state of the union is there, on what we will be doing with hypervisors going forward. Andrey, over to you.
Thank you, Stephen. Do you guys see what I'm sharing?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good. Okay, I'm going to give you a short update, well, relatively short update on what we currently what we see on the hypervisor market, what we're doing internally. For that, a lot of things happening. It wasn't like really an exciting topic like 4 years ago, but now it is. I can tell you this, and you can see probably how excited I am. But hey, nice to meet or virtually meet everyone. My name is Andrey. I come from to you from Germany. We're mourning this like today. I'm not sure if you followed what happened last night, but there was a disaster for playing on the other
Yes.
side of the pond, unfortunately. So people are crying on the streets. You know how it is. Um, Nevertheless, I've been with Veeam for last 14 years. If everything goes all right, I think this would be the company that would help me to get my retirement plan in 20 years from now. Well, it's like it almost feels like there is no way out, by this point. So I've been involved with like several projects, and I've been working with in product strategy team for the last 9 years out of my 14 years journey. But hey, the hypervisor stuff, something that became much more important to us, that was on my plate for the last 2 years, and I can probably tell you why, because we're expanding and we're doing much more on that area. So I'm going to talk for next like 15, like around that, about it. And feel free to stop me anytime to ask your questions, or probably at the end of the session, because it's very important to we have a common understanding between us what's currently happening, what you can plan for future. Obviously, you're running your own projects and thinking about like going to that platform or that platform. So yeah, it's very important to understand where we are. Okay, the general slide here. It's basically hypervisors are not that like that big in terms of like the marketing slide in terms of marketing right now, because obviously we have a lot of platforms that we support these days, and people asking about like other, I don't know, SaaS workloads that we should support, like Planner or Dynamics or I don't know, something new. And then when it comes to hypervisors, it's like inside of the virtual like pod, and inside of the like, do you support VMware? Do you support Hyper-V? Yes, yes. Okay, that's fine. But then I would argue this conversation has changed over the last few years, and then you probably know why already. I know I should update this slide, but the stats are from the previous year, because like we are running the surveys constantly. Some other people, in the industry, they run surveys. It's clear that VMware still number one on the market. No like doubt about it, right? And the market is huge. And then there are obviously some like established players like Microsoft with their Hyper-V offering, Nutanix with HNV. But at the same time, what we're seeing right now, if like I had this slide like in progression, like comparing 2024, 25, and 26, you would have been able to see the VMware number would like drop a little bit, like the digit by digit, but it's dropping, and other guys are getting more attractive, getting more like getting more appetite, I would say, especially given the fact that it's not the same VMware anymore. It's Broadcom or VMware by Broadcom. And then you have probably seen the number of articles in the internet, or you might have faced it like already directly. Broadcom raising the prices and making the offering less less visible or less desirable for anyone here. When we get, and I know this is the Ireland, and we're talking about our like EMEA European market as well, but we are comparing what's happening differently in United States or North America, in APJ, in Europe as well. A couple of things that struck my mind, things related to, for example, in Europe, it's to digital sovereignty, to people wanting to use more of a like European products and platforms that are backed by Europeans, developed in Europe. Like we are really rare case these days, but still possible. I would argue it's a little bit more popular in APJ with all of the like Chinese vendors and Chinese alternatives and the hypervisors that's being developed there. So it's a little bit different. But still, the numbers are changing and we can see what's happening. Okay, this has been our mantra for I don't know, 2 decades already. We started as #1 VMware backup. This is what kind of gave life to Veeam as a company. And then we added Hyper-V, then we added Nutanix. We've been kind of like doing like slow evolution, and now it's no longer slow. We have to adapt. So over the last few years, we added support for additional platforms, and I would argue among all of the names you can see here, probably Proxmox virtual environment probably makes a little bit more sense, or kind of became a little bit more popular comparing to what other guys are doing. But at the same time, take a look into HP VM Essentials. You know, it's backed by HP, like the company with a lot of, you know, a lot of cash, with a lot of like ideas how they can make it into their successful business, and they're doing a lot of good work for that. And we're supporting it now. I'm going to talk about it. We're having more features for it. So yeah, you can expect these numbers or like those like names be different, and we expand our portfolio. Okay, probably the same slide, but just just like with like nice logos and everything. Okay, I'm not going to stay that much here. Although I have to mention that in our newest version that is scheduled for this summer, 13.1, late summer or like beginning of fall, we don't know yet. No like exact date set in stone, but we're going to support 4 like 3 additional hypervisors with Red Hat OpenShift that is like already supported, but we're going to like redo the support the way how we do it like today. And it might be scheduled for like sometime after 3.1. So you have to stay in tuned. Obviously, with us and our portability story, Veeam's DNA, right? You should be able to, well, first of all, to take this particular backup and to bring it to another platform, to recover it to another platform. The expectation is that we'll have the feature parity whenever it comes to hypervisor support. However, the reality is obviously it's not. And the answer is very simple. We've been developing solution for VMware for the last 20 years, and we just picked up on the HP VM Essentials, for example. And obviously, people should not really expect the whole expertise of like 20 years of development being like brought to HP VME at the same time. But the commitment here is obviously we want to have the feature parity. We want to expand in the way that we are doing for other platforms, for other solutions. And knowing what we currently have for VMware, we're trying to kind of to replicate the success and to replicate those features and to expand them towards other platforms. Okay, a couple of things to say about 13.1, which is the next version scheduled for the summer, like I said. HP VME, again, we had a beta. It was very successful. We made a GA, and now we are ready to like internally we call it version 2, but like externally probably people wouldn't bother at all. But we're adding a few things here and there, improving application-aware processing that is partially available today, but going to be better available within this version. We're going to work a little bit in terms of the additional things such as malware detection, the things that we can do for other platforms to include there as well. So for us, it's a very important milestone, and to option to see the market to test the water, to see how successful HP is going to be in that business, because obviously they spend a lot of resources in terms of forming Morpheus platform or like refactoring. Not sure if you know, but then it was a startup that HP acquired, and then they are like reshaping it to be associated with HP standards. What about other guys? I mentioned 3 more names. same for XCP-ng, which we currently have beta for. We actually have the betas for all of them, but XCP-ng, we have the beta since last October. I would argue it's relatively successful. Again, the numbers might not say like the same story, but still number of customers preferring XCP-ng and knowing what Xen is, and then it's like XCP is basically modern Xen. Adopting this platform and trying to work with it, I would say it needs a little bit more maturity in the way how they like handle certain operations, but very interesting platform. And the very interesting touch is that it's fully developed in Europe by the French company located in Grenoble, in one of the like next to the French Alps. So it might be a good play for companies looking for, like digital sovereignty type of situation. Okay, I would say the biggest expansion here it's for in version 13.1. It's for Nutanix HNV, and we made it like fully available. All the things related to operations with Nutanix made it available within our new web user interface, which is really good thing. And the commitment here, again, that's I don't know, like by version 13 or anything, but like the thick client should go away with time. I cannot really tell you whether it's going to be 2027 or 28 or 29, but like we want the modern way and to go through the same transition what VMware had with their own vSphere clients. So to be able to manage all the operations using the modern web clients, and Nutanix fully supported within 13.1, it's a good step towards that. A couple of like smaller things related to it, like instant disk recovery, something that we weren't able to do that previously. Also a nice touch towards that. Proxmox. So it hasn't made its way into the web UI for 13.1, although I can tell you already that it's like 95% complete. So whenever we have an opportunity to ship the newest or later update, the Proxmox is like the next platform that is going to be supported from the new web UI as well. But a couple of other interesting things happen to Proxmox as well. So for example, native replication within Proxmox, something that people, they're asking about replication for all the platforms, that I would argue it makes much more sense for Proxmox. And because obviously with us, it's not just replication, but the ability to do the failover, the failback, all of the goods associated with the whole replication process, right? It should be much easier for people to adopt Proxmox and to run operations and to work with it in a modern way. Instant VM recovery for Proxmox, also a lot of excitement, at least for me, because I think instant recovery is one of the key things or key differentiators that we have inside of Veeam. And then we created this technology a while back, and then now we have it for VMware, we have it for Hyper-V, but thank God now we will have it for Proxmox as well. And obviously comes with a lot of, or with smaller requirements, so I would say limitations. For example, the only those disks that we're going to support in the version 1, and it will come with experimental support status, but still better than nothing. And we kind of expect those of you and that are using Proxmox to use this technology, because obviously it's no brainer, right? If you're recovering data, instant VM recovery, it's much better than full VM recovery, for example, or much better story for the the RTO perspective. Yeah, a couple of smaller, or I would say minor improvements here and there, just for the all hypervisors. So you have to understand that we're doing a lot of work underneath. So sometimes you see things that are visible, like instant VM recovery with 2 Proxmox. But at the same time, we're doing something else that I'm going to touch on, the Universal Hypervisor API. So it's the part of the core platform that is the part of Veeam Backup and Replication. So looking into the future, once that a change is done to the core platform, it would be much easier for the other guys and for us as well to develop support for those platforms, or to make the connections between those platforms with Veeam, talking about like other hypervisors as well. And I would say it's not like anywhere here on the slide, but it's still something that is very important to us and something that's, yeah, we're striving to do. Remember the slide that I showed you already? They're available now, coming into 13.1. But like the right column here, and this is the last slide of this presentation that we're looking into the future. So the right column here already talking to you that more hypervisors are going to be supported by Veeam by the end of 2026, by the end of the year. 3 hypervisors already confirmed, and we're in a good way with them, with those companies to, to make it happen. And it's just like work in progress. I don't know whether you're going to guess those, like the companies, but this is something that is happening right now. And if any of you interested in like speculating or having, hey, like I'm running this platform, are you guys going to support that? Just ping me, let me know. Under NDA, like we can definitely talk about those platforms, and we can talk about like future, and we can talk about the things that would be the part of version 1 and version 2 and version 3, going into the future. And you should be able to also shape the future of Veeam by saying, hey, this is what like we're planning to run. We're planning to run it by this time, and then we need this as a must functionality. We need this as a regular functionality. We need this as a nice to have functionality. So we should be able to design solution better. So 3 more hypervisors already confirmed. However, not only 3 of them, but 6 more. So in total 9. The story is a little bit, let's say it's like a tricky story, because those like 6 new hypervisors, the integrations will not just depend on us, but on them as well, because it's going to be the part of what we call the Universal Hypervisor API support. And they are developing support for Veeam, connecting their platforms with Veeam Data Platform. Again, not ready to talk about the specific vendors like publicly, but you can see how excited I am. You can see that it's like a lot of things going on right now. And then I don't know whether we're going to have like a final state, hey, like this is the finish line and like everything's available, or it's going to be all the time something is coming to the future. But anyways, the excitement is here. With that, I would like to stop, and I would like to see whether we have any questions, or like I'm open.
Andrey, just to do things on the fly, I've created a poll, and I'm not sure how it'll work, so I'm just going to hit create just to see and cast it out there. So just hitting create, and nothing like a live demo. Start poll. There you go. Can you guys see that?
No, I can't see anything.
No? Okay, so epic fail. There we go. So it just offers and share results. So apologies, I just thought I'd cast it out there just to see if there's a general consensus of which hypervisors people are wanting.
No problem. Yeah, no poll popped up, unfortunately. Thank you very much, Andrey. That's fantastic. Very insightful to see what's coming along and down the road, and what Veeam is going to be supporting. Adrian, over to you for version 13.1. You want to share?
No problem. Thank you, Stephen. So yeah, first demo, live demo is failed epically. So let me just share my screen.
Bodes well for the rest.
Yeah, fingers crossed. So one moment there. There you go. Can you guys see that?
Yes, we can.
Cool. So finally, so hello everybody. Yeah, so Adrian Lowe, Senior Systems Engineer here at Veeam, predominantly support service providers such as Stephen and many other names on this call as well. I've been at Veeam almost 6 years as of tomorrow, the 1st of July. So yeah, and it's flew by. So I'm going to give you a bit of a taster of 13.1. So there's a bit of death by PowerPoint to start with, because there's a lot of content in here. And then I'm going to jump into our current beta as well, just to show you some of that and give you some tangible look and feel of that. Forgive me, you may see some duplicate information because obviously the hypervisor feature sets are a pretty big part of this 13.1 release. But yeah, so we're just buckling and we'll take it from here then. So first off, it's the Veeam software infrastructure appliance. And the main feature here, well, not main feature, but one of the features here was improved resource and health monitoring and for appliances. So previously, you were unable to get the usage of the CPU and memory and the swap and the storage, whereas now just directly from the Veeam software appliance, you can get that using something called Prometheus Node Exporter. To add to that, you can also export that externally to third-party systems and certain services such as Halo or Grafana and so on as well. So you can get full insight into that of the software appliance. You can also use something called the rsyslog exporter as well to get those metrics as well. So, and I'll show you where to configure that as well. So you've got a number of places you can configure it within the web UI, or whether it's in the host management interface as well. The other good feature that's coming with the software appliance in 13.1 is the support for Fiber Channel and iSCSI as well. So this has been one of a regular request to me, and now you can add those disks in on the fly and sort of change those. So you can add or remove those with the security officer approval. One thing you can't do just yet, but it's been asked for, is expanding those disks on the fly. So once you've added them, can you expand them? And the answer is no today, but it is on our hit list to do as well in the near future. So again, as Stephen said earlier, just keep this interactive. So if you've got any questions, fire them in the chat or just unmute yourself and fire away. I will show you some demo stuff shortly, but I just thought I'd whip through some of these as well and give you some details. The other key thing is improved certificate management, and with certificate authorities reducing their expiry window, it's more relevant than ever. So you can now manage this from in the host management console web UI, and you can also add trusted certificate authorities in there as well. So you can just add that with a bit more elegance and a bit more ease, and just bake it in, just make your services a bit more streamlined essentially. Some more finessing in the software in the infrastructure appliance is the password management and expiry. So you can now set that directly in there. So you just go into the storage management, set your users' credentials, and you go to policies, and you can now set an enabled, disable or enable the expiration of those users and the expiry periods as well. So these are just things, just polishing 13.1 release, making it more secure, more resilient for you guys to use, and just overall, just finishing off those nuance elements as well. Again, I was going to try and do another poll to see who's even using this 13 or software appliance today, but since I failed at the first poll, I think I'll just say it verbally. So I guess if you're using the software appliance today, when you go to configure it, it always mandatory makes you set up the MFA or multi-factor authentication up front, and that's absolutely fine. But if you're used to deploying these on a regular basis, or if you're a service provider, for example, and you have a multi-site deployment setup, that can sometimes add a bit of latency and a bit of lag. So what we've implemented is the ability to skip the MFA during the software deployment and then retrospectively go and configure it thereafter. Obviously, it's still recommended to have MFA in place, but it just means it streamlines the rollout and the deployment of this as well. And again, you can configure that in the host management console as well as the web UI. And as you can see there, that forces it across the board then. So again, just more and more goodness into there and sort of make it more secure and more usable overall as a deployment piece. The other thing is just simplified user creation in the host management console. So you can just come in now with a wizard-driven user creation, select the user, apply the relevant role, and turn MFA and so on by default. And you can just roll that out and sort of get plugging and playing and going and hit the ground running. A key one here, which is the infrastructure appliance, has a prereq of 2 120 gig disks by default. And that was no big issue, to be honest, for most partners. Obviously, it's a bit resourceful. But when you go to explore other hypervisors, such as OpenStack, adding multiple disks tends to become a bit more troublesome, and there are workarounds. You can work around and make it work inevitably. However, we've just removed that requirement now, so you can do it in a single disk fashion, or as I might call the Veeam Infrastructure Appliance Lite, which is not the true name or official name, but it just means it's more easy to roll out and deploy in your environments. And just a snapshot of a few other improvements as well. Is the new hardware switching to Rocky Linux 9.6, sorry, just adding more capability and more coverage. Hot add transport. I know we've talked about other various hypervisors, but we still have Pinnacle partners. VMware's still a majority footprint in our estates, as you could, as you're very well acquainted with. So we've now got the hot add transport mode available in there as well. And we've also casted a net out further. You're going to see a reoccurring theme here, a Veeam software appliance and Hyper-V images were to roll out. But we are just becoming the go-to for any hypervisor, essentially. So we're trying to put our goodness across the board, and therefore you can be hypervisor agnostic in your choice. And again, if you use unattended deployment options, we've enriched that as well now, so you can bake in the high availability and the data collection services. So if anybody is interested in the unattended deployments, we've got a chap, a colleague of mine called Baptiste Tellier. He's in the community. He's a heavy user. He's a Veeam MVP as well, and he's big on all the unattended deployments and automation as well. So if you want, just go to Google and hit him up, and you'll see his blog pages. So what else have we got in 13.1? We've got the Veeam Updater improvements as well. So this is the ability to centrally distribute and manage the actual ISO itself. So if you've got customers that don't have internet access or strict compliance, and you want to essentially, yes, you could proxy it before, but now you've got the ability to mirror it from your enterprise manager or have a local managed mirror as well. So it's just about giving you that control and autonomy of what suits your customer profiles as well. So just adding more goodness in there across the board. This is the duplication of slides, so I will whistle stop tour through these, but just to recap, and then I'll relabel that when we go through the actual demo itself. And Stephen, you keep me honest on time as well, so just shoot me in or let me know if there's any questions that ping in the chat. So hypervisor support, just to see it twice, and it's always good to be re-established again. So as Andrey said, the first instance is a version 1 checksum. Any hypervisor we try to get on the initial rubber stamp, we want to have change block tracking if it's possible from them. We want to have backup to all repositories. We want to have instant recovery, at least to VMware and Hyper-V, because they're our most well-established hypervisor integrations. And we want to have restore to or almost to any platform as well. What comes in the second round is everything you see in bold. And this isn't always universal for all hypervisors, because it depends on their exposure and APIs and so on. But we want to have application-aware processing. We want to have the ability to inject the drivers as well. So it's an elegant failover and install. And now we've also striped malware detection, which you'll see later on. We've also pumped in some goodness there across the board, making that more usable across multiple facets of workloads as well. Just a true story. So one of our service providers in the UK, he was moving from VMware to Hyper-V. He tried to use the Morpheus tool, and he was sold the dream. And he said, his words, it was an epic failure. It didn't work. So he used the Veeam software to migrate that. The only hiccup he had is at the time he had to do the injecting of the drivers himself manually, but it got him from A to B in the time window he needed, and he couldn't stop singing our praises. So it's just in case you want to explore that avenue as a migration tool yourselves, that we have had success stories. Again, I won't relabor this, but there's the extended hypervisor. Sangfa is more of an Asian sort of hypervisor. I don't see too much myself here, but there's coverage. The ones that are probably more relevant is the XCPNG and the Zen server. Zen server has always been a question for the last multiple years. Do you support Zen server? Do you support Zen server? And it's always been a hard no. Well, now we can finally say yes, but what do you need in there? And again, you see the common theme, change block tracking, instant recovery, and so on. So I won't labor that too much. I'll skim through some of this, but Nutanix support as well, now in the web UI, which you'll see, injecting the drivers again, so making it more and more fluid regardless of hypervisor, essentially. And again, Andrey touched this, is Proxmox. Number one feature I've been asked for in Proxmox is the replica jobs in Proxmox, which is a key feature. One thing to note that's not in there today, and I probably should add it in the slide, is Veeam Cloud Connect replication. That's not there yet. Yeah, so just as a catch-all, because off the back of this, I'll have some service providers asking me that next question. So that's not there, but it is in line of sight. And obviously, you can see how fast we're moving, the innovation we're putting in here. It won't be too long before that's added in there as well. Cool. So I say one of my favorite features. It's not really seen as a feature, but it's the web UI improvement. So this is just exploded. So initially we had, I'm not official figures, but we probably said had 15 to 20% coverage where you could see your VM jobs and so on else, but you couldn't really do much else with the wider workloads. You couldn't see much else, you couldn't manage them. Well, now you can with most of it. So I'd say you got up to 70 to 80% coverage now. So now you see that Nutanix AHV workload, you can manage your agent management with protection groups. You can see the unstructured data with NAS and object storage, and you can also set the malware detection in there as well. A nice one, certainly for service providers, is the backup copy, is the ability to send the backup copy and configure those. And you can also do the Active Directory application restore. So that's a big feature we've got in 13.1, which is the full forest restore as well of your AD farms. But that's not over just yet. So there's the custom RBAC roles as well that we're adding in there. So that's just giving you more control, more tapering, the ability to give certain users access to certain workloads, and to also not just back those certain workloads up, but also restore them. It might be that you have different lines of business, different segregations, different clearances in your business, and that all helps with the least privilege and zero trust frameworks that we've been pitching the last few years as well. And just a few other ones in there. So Veeam 1, just hooking it in, showing you from the web UI so you can see that dashboard nice and elegantly. I've left Japanese and German language localization in there, and some people go, oh, that's not too relevant to me. The key one I've left that in there for is when you deploy this, UK guys often complain that it's still a US keyboard. So when you're using your keyboard and you're typing a password and the exclamation mark is in the wrong place, well, now when you do the deployment, you can select UK, you can select whatever region you want and make it local to you. So I don't know, it's more relevant to some of our other European counterparts, but I'd just like to keep that one in there as well. Cool. I'm conscious I'm doing a bit of death by PowerPoint, Steve. Is it flowing okay before I?
We're all right. We've about 15 minutes left.
Okay, I'll try and I want to show you the juicy stuff. So new features and improvements. So again, recapped on this. Nutanix, the ability to custom roles. Enter ID keeps getting enriched as well for the feature capability, but the ability to restrict access to what you can back up and what you can restore. Preventing unapproved changes in the mutable settings. So just giving the roles to other providers as well. So whether it's a backup admin, security admins, and so on. Conscious that I'm covering a lot of ground here, guys. So good job it's being recorded so you can rewatch and digest afterwards. But we've added the immutability capability onto the hard Linux repositories as well. Again, the theme is we're trying to get parity across the board on whatever it is, whether it's hypervisors, whether it's repositories. We want to make sure you guys are protected and secure for whatever service and capabilities you want to put across the board there. Configuration, backup, immutability on hardened repositories. You'd expect this is probably already in there, but it wasn't, and now we've brought it up there and brought you that goodness. From a malware scanning, just skipping into here, when we brought out the malware scanning, absolutely fantastic. We could do in-guest, we could do on-demand, we could do Yara scanning, but it was predominantly focused on the Windows workloads. So if you had some mixed workloads with Unix or Proxmox and whatever else, it used to fall short quite quickly when you wanted to scan other sort of workloads. Well, now we've got pretty much across the board there for unstructured data. The only catcher or gotcha there is the inline scan. It's not on the unstructured data just yet. But for the wider workloads, whether it's Proxmox, and the one I got asked for the other day was the ability to do the malware scanning on their Veeam backup for Azure environments as well. So we're just enriching it from top to bottom, and there's almost nothing we can't really touch on this point as well. I just see if there's a few more nuggets that I'll share with you before diving in, Steve. I think I'm touching on. I'm going to touch on one more key area because it's quite a key functionality is Enter ID backups for anyone that uses M365 and Enter ID. Enter ID is the big phase at the minute, the protecting. But what we've added in 13.1 is the ability to keep the relationships when you do that restore. So today, when you do the restore, it restores, and that's great, but it does it with a unique identifier. Going forward, you can keep that relationship, which means it's more powerful, it's more meaningful, it's more usable to that user to access his own files without having, duplications or having to restitch it together. We've added additional workloads in there as well. So coverage. So if you're familiar with the Enter ID, we started off with users and groups and enterprise applications. Then we added conditional access and Intune. Well, the recent one is we've just added the organizational contacts and device objects and BitLocker keys as well. Just for clarity, you can do the view and compare, but you can't do the restore of that just yet, and for that because it's in a read-only objects. But to get that, we allow you to export the JSON file so you can trawl it and extract and do what you need to as well. So that's pretty much it. I've got a few more slides, but I'm going to skip the slides. I'm going to jump into the demo, Steve, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Conscious, I'm giving you death by PowerPoint. So, how does it look? So, for those that are familiar, we've got three dashboards essentially. We've got when you set up the interface, you've got the host management. So I'm just going to log in here. So give me a second because it security feature. We time it out. So let me just do my multi-factor.
Your goal going forward should be to do your PowerPoint before it logs you out.
Yes, it should. Yes, absolutely. There we go. Forgive me. This is probably because I'm trying to type too quick, isn't it? So you have the Veeam host management interface. There we go. What's going on? One last go, guys, before I... That doesn't work. Ah, there we go. Back of the net. Keeping it with the World Cup theme. Right. So, yeah, when you set up your Veeam software appliance, you'll do that typically through the TUI or the text user interface. You'll then be able to enable something called the web access to that gives you access to this host management console. So hopefully I'm not teaching suck extras there. And this is what's added a bit of TLC at the start of the deck, whereby now you can see the CPU usage, the memory swaps, and so on. You can also go and see the storage metrics in here. And this is where, again, you can add the fiber channel and the iSCSI drives in there as well. So anything you see with TBD, that's to come in the general availability when it comes. There is a beta available, and if you want that, reach out to your Veeam rep or SE, and he should be able to share that with you, and so on. What else is in here? So in the users and roles, as I mentioned, you can select Joe Blogs, you can select policies, and in there you can set the expiration of that and the time that you want it to expire as well. You've got the certificate management. So I'm just going over what I covered off in the PowerPoint as well. So you can got the ability to do the install certificates and manage those trusted authorities as well in here directly, just making it a bit easier. From a backup infrastructure, this is where you can meet your FIPS compliance. For anyone doing your tenders and you have to make sure you've got your FIPS compliance and you're ticking the box, this is where you can configure that all out of this box directly and natively as well. And you'll see what's one big feature I didn't mention, which was in my slides, but obviously conscious of time, was an application backup repository. That is a catch-all job for workloads that we don't have coverage for today. So we cover today Windows, Mac, Linux, AIX, Azure, Google. We cover such a broad spectrum, and yet we still have a whole wave of proprietary OSs that we don't cover, whether it's a virtual firewall. Well, that is the ability to do an NFS share backup and catch-all for those and use the ZFS, scheduler and backup capability in there. So, what else? We've got the observability. This is the node exporter and the RS syslogs, whereby you can hook those metrics into your third-party systems. And again, you configure all that directly from here. But better than that, the next browser you have, because you use the host management for certain key activities and security officer activities and setup, but the general day-to-day will be this web UI. So this is the power that's got all that love and so on as well. So in here now you get a job overview. you've got the jobs that you can see, and you can see I've got a job for a domain user. You can start new jobs for pretty much most of the workloads anyway, so Nutanix, as we mentioned earlier. We haven't got the Proxmox jobs in there just yet, but I'll show you that in a minute because you still need full fat console for certain bits. What you can do is configure backup jobs. I haven't got one here in my beta because I didn't set a second repository, but you can go and configure a backup copy job directly from here. And as a nice bit of a takeaway, anything that you can do in the web UI has an API. If it has an API, you can push it through to Service Provider Console for the service providers on here. And guess what? If it's not Service Provider Console, you can go to whatever API-driven tool you desire and want to use as well. So that's anything in here you can use there. It's a bit of a nugget. From the backups, you will be able to see all the backups. So here you can see Morpheus backups, and you can see there's multiple restore points. Same with the XCPNG. I just can't do the restores from the web UI. So if I wanted to do a restore, again, that's the full fat console. However, I can do restores and instant recovery directly from here for all the mainstream workloads that we've mentioned today. So instant recovery to VMware, to Nutanix, entire restore. So you can get the full-fledged majority of the capability in here as well. You've got protection groups to create those agent backups. You've got the unstructured data. So forgive me because I know I'm going through it quite quickly, but there's a lot of ground to cover and a lot of goodness. Trying to think where to go next from a perspective. So if I go to configuration, the top right, you're going to see a bit of duplication of what I showed you in the host interface. So from a security point of view, that's where you can see certificates if you want to just to keep track. You've got the malware detection piece. This is where you can configure malware. And a key feature in 13.1 is not just about configuring malware, it's about adding exclusions even on a per VM setting as well. So if you had, I don't know, a big culprit that you didn't want to have a big large database trawling through with, you know, deep dive scans today, you can exclude them. Or if you had a UAT or whatever else purpose you might want to exclude, but you can do that directly from the user web UI as well. Users and roles, again, you can go to roles, you can build custom roles, and it can be as much or as little as you want. So you can say manage backups and restore, and then when you drill down, you can say only specific, you know, covers a certain workload and repository. And likewise, as you go through, you can say, oh, should have probably just put it entire there. And again, when you do the restore, you can get it to target certain bits. So you can get very, very granular very, very quickly. And obviously highly recommended to review those. So you haven't got a flatline user for everybody and everyone being able to do everything with, you know, godlike privilege. Put that least privilege into place. It's easier now than ever. So I'll just come out of there. So just conscious of time, guys. So probably need a follow-up session there, Steve. But the observability, this is where you can configure a bit more detail. So if I do sharing, make it secure, and then you can turn a password on there as well if desired, or you can just do the RSys logs and have event forwarding as well directly from here. So this ecosystem is becoming more and more relevant. I don't know if there's any service providers on the call, but there was a few things I did want to mention, if that's okay. Are we okay for a few more minutes?
You got 2 minutes.
2 minutes, right? Okay, so I'm going to just back to PowerPoint quickly. So Cloud Connect, a couple of golden nuggets for you. We can now, with 13.1, is encrypt the source tenant backup, and they can pass through the encryption keys to you as a service provider at your cloud repo. Yeah, pretty powerful stuff now. So you can give them a full end-to-end best practice coverage. You can also do malware scans on that cloud repository at the destination, driving additional value from day one. You can go and offer that as a value add, or as a checksum, or as a house, and then you can go and investigate at the source side and say, look, that's why we told you to put malware scanning at the source, because you've been breached already and you've got contaminated backups essentially. And then finally, you've also got the ability to do Cloud Connect instant recovery, instant restores to Hyper-V, and what's on the roadmap will be to do restores to all of the other hypervisors directly from Cloud Connect repo as well. For Service Provider Console, just one more slide, is now all the hypervisors that you've mentioned, that Andrey mentioned earlier as well, you'll be aware, you'll be able to see all those different hypervisors in there, and you've got full integration. So I know some service providers have been eager to use software appliance, but we say disable RDP, turn off SSH, but we also want to manage it from Service Provider Console. There's a bit of a misalignment. Well, going forward, Service Provider Console will be able to burrow into the web UI and do all of that capability I've shown you already. And that extends the malware state and so on. I just saw a hand go up. I don't know if it was a clapping or a question.
No questions yet.
That's cool. And then, yeah, you can also manage the updater as well from Service Provider Console. So with that, I guess I'll wrap up. And if there was anything else, I'll just say, if you want access to the beta, just request it from your sales rep or contact, set it up, focus on the key features, and then obviously just submit the feedback and contribute to the community, shall we say. So
excellent. Thank you very much, Adrian. Appreciate that. That's great. Listen, thanks very much for everyone for coming along. We're going to do a quick giveaway at the minute, so nobody go anywhere. Our next event, we're going to have a physical meetup in September. So it'll be fantastic to get everyone to get together, have a drink or two, do a bit of content. Hopefully Adrian will be able to dive a bit deeper into some of that stuff as well if he's over for it. It's usually not a hard job to get the guys to come to Dublin for an hour session. So hopefully we'll have them over for that. And
I invited.
Yes, indeed. Just about to say, with a bit of luck, Andrey might come over as well. But yeah, listen, thank you very much for everyone. I'll be sending on the details of the physical meetup in September as well. We have 3 prizes to give out, kindly sponsored by Vault 365. So they do an immutable repository for Veeam. So hit them up if you have any need for that. While Adrian was chatting, I did a random number generator on where everyone is in the thing, which is great because it's all alphabetical, so that makes it work. So these 3 people will be getting a copy of Chris Childerhouse's book, Mastering Veeam Backup and Replication version 13, and then a Just Eat voucher to get yourself a takeaway or some beer while you're trying to read that, because it's a lot. Fantastic book on how to master Veeam. So the 3 lucky people that got that are Noel Buckley is number 1, Connor Kay is number 2, and Eric Powell is number 3. I think I have all your email addresses. I'll reach out to you today or tomorrow an email on how you can get them their digital products. So we should get that sorted next day or 2. So again, thank you very much for everyone for coming along. Thank you to Adrian and Andrey for the content. And yeah, get to the community hub, start asking questions, start getting involved. The bigger our events go, and the more people are involved, the biggest budget we'll get for our physical meetups, and we might have a drink or 2. So thank you very much for your time. I'll talk to you all again.
Perfect. Thank you. See you later.
Cheers.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.